News in brief: dozens of severely wounded allowed to flee Gaza as war rages on RAFAH, Gaza Strip. After more than 3 weeks of siege, the first Palestinians were allowed to leave Gaza. They were hundreds of dual passport holders and dozens of seriously injured people. Israeli airstrikes pounded a densely populated area for the second day in a row. And Jordan, a key U.S. ally, recalled its ambassador from Israel. Jordan also told Israel's ambassador to remain out of its country in protest over the humanitarian catastrophe in Gaza. Some 5,000 migrants set out on foot from Mexico's southern border Tapachula, Mexico. About 5,000 migrants from Central America, Venezuela, Cuba and Haiti have set out on foot to reach the U.S., walking north from Mexico's southern border. The migrants complain that processing for refugee or exit visas takes too long at Mexico's main processing center in the city of Tapachula, near the Guatemalan border. The migrants formed a long line along the highway, escorted at times by police, who prevented them from blocking the entire highway and sometimes stopped them from hitching rides. More than 10,000 migrants have showed up at the U.S. border in recent weeks, meaning that Monday's march is now just a drop in the bucket. Time equals 400 ms, greater than Israeli envoy to Russia says Tel Aviv passengers hid from weekend airport riot in Terminal Tallinn, Estonia. Israel's ambassador to Moscow gave new details of the weekend riot at an airport in southern Russia when a flight from Tel Aviv landed there, saying some of the passengers had to hide in the terminal before being flown by helicopter to safety. Ambassador Alexander Ben-Zvi blamed Sunday's unrest on extremist elements resulting from indoctrination in the mostly Muslim Republic of Dagestan. But he said that overall, there is no anti-Semitism, on an organized level, in Russia. Authorities say at least 20 people, police and civilians, were injured at the Makhachkala airport. Ben-Zvi said no passengers were hurt. Authorities say more than 80 were detained in the violence and 17 were convicted of misdemeanors. The mayors of 5 big cities seek a meeting with Biden about how to better manage arriving migrants washing tea on. The mayors of Chicago, Denver, Houston, Los Angeles and New York are pressing to meet with President Joe Biden about the migrants arriving in their cities. The Democratic leader wants to discuss getting federal help in managing the surge of migrants they say are arriving with little to no coordination, support or resources from the president's administration. The Democratic leaders say in a letter obtained by the Associated Press on Wednesday that while they appreciate Biden's efforts so far, much more needs to be done to ease the burden on their cities. Biden is increasingly under fire on this issue from members of his own party. And Republicans claim he's soft on border security. Donald Trump's sons Don Jr. and Eric will testify at fraud trial. Time equals 400 ms, greater than New York. Donald Trump's eldest sons are scheduled to testify in the New York civil fraud case that threatens their company's future. Donald Trump Jr. and Eric Trump took over day-to-day management of their dad's real estate empire when he became president. Donald Jr. is expected to testify Wednesday and Eric Trump on Thursday. Their testimony kicks off a blockbuster stretch as the trial in New York Attorney General Letitia James's lawsuit enters its second month. The Democratic Attorney General alleges Donald Trump, his company and top executives exaggerated his wealth on financial statements to secure loans and make deals. The Republican ex-president and his eldest daughter, Ivanka Trump, testify next week. The Trumps deny wrongdoing. Time equals 400 ms, greater than the Supreme Court seems likely to rule against a trademark in the Trump Too Small case. Washington, the Supreme Court has signaled that it would rule against a man who wants to trademark the suggestive phrase, Trump Too Small. The dispute is over the government's decision to deny a trademark to Steve Elster, a California man seeking exclusive use of the phrase on T-shirts and potentially other merchandise. It is the latest case relating to former President Donald Trump to reach the Supreme Court, following arguments Tuesday in social media cases with echoes of Trump. The justices repeatedly invoked the phrase Wednesday as they questioned whether the government was justified in denying the trademark. Elster's lawyers argue that the decision violated his free speech rights, and a federal appeals court agreed. Collapse of Kentucky plant being demolished at abandoned mine leaves one worker dead, another trapped INEZ-KY. Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear says a man has died after he and a co-worker were trapped beneath a collapsed 11-story building being demolished at an abandoned mines coal preparation plant. Kentucky Emergency Management says the building at Martin Mine Prep Plant in Martin County collapsed around 6:30 p.m. Tuesday, trapping the workers beneath multiple floors of concrete and steel, and teams worked to rescue them. Officials say several rescuers were inside the rubble as part of the rescue effort. Officials didn't release details about the extent of the other man's injuries. Countries at a UK summit pledged to tackle AI's potentially catastrophic risks. Bletchley Park, England. Delegates from 28 nations, including the US and China, have agreed to work together to contain the potential catastrophic risks posed by galloping advances in artificial intelligence. The Bletchley Declaration by the first International AI Safety Summit focused only on cutting-edge, frontier AI that some warn could pose a risk to humanity's existence. Vice President Kamala Harris gave host country Britain a nudge with a speech stressing the transformation AI is already bringing and the need to hold tech companies accountable, including through legislation. Harris is scheduled to attend the summit's second day on Thursday.